Hi guys, and welcome back to my Evilness podcast. Today we will be talking about the true crime case of Jessica Small. Jessica was born on the 27th of July in 1982 in Perth of Western Australia. Her parents were Ricky and Stephen Small. She had two older siblings, Rebecca and Matthew. Her parents separated when Jessica was only 2, and this is when, along with her siblings, Jessica moved to Bathurst with her mother. By 1997, the year that she went missing, due to tensions at home, Jessica had been staying from place to place, sometimes at her mum's, sometimes at her sister's, and sometimes with friends. A close friend of Jessica's, Vanessa, who said of Jessica and her mother's relationship that they fought a bit over the usual kind of things: money, Jessica sneaking out and wanting to go to parties that her mother didn't want her to go to, which frustrated Jessica, who claimed some days her mother didn't care what she did and other days she was trying to enforce rules onto her. Vanessa also said that Jessica said that her mother would blow all of the food money for the week on alcohol, leaving no food to eat in the house. Around April or May of 1997, Jessica dropped out of Year 10 at Kelso High School, even though she didn't have a job or an actual place that she called home. She was still living from place to place. On Saturday, the 25th of October, 1997, Jessica and Vanessa, after spending the day together, decided that evening to walk into town to meet with some more friends. They ran into Ricky along the way, who gave Jessica some spending money. The girls walked to the Amusement Centre on Russell Street in the CBD, or the Amuse Me Video Arcade, which I'm pretty sure now has closed down. I couldn't find much information online about that. So the girls left to get some food at Mick's Takeaway, and then they returned to Amuse Me, where Jessica had a few alcoholic beverages and was said to be tipsy but not drunk. Jessica and Vanessa spent the night there with a group of their friends, dancing and playing pool. The girls left and returned a few times throughout the night. One of these times they were looking for a friend. When they returned to the video arcade, they found it was closed for the night, so they headed to a nearby restaurant to discuss what they should do. They decided to continue on with their night, and they started walking towards a friend's house a few kilometres away. As they were walking, they noticed a car passed them, and then it turned around and parked on the side of the road. The girls decided to investigate this. Jessica had a brief conversation with the driver before she and Vanessa got into the car. Vanessa said the girls had hitchhiked in the past. The girls did not know the male driver of this car, but during his short conversation with Jessica, revealed he had seen them at the Amuse Me complex earlier that night. Which, back then, I don't really think it was unusual to hitchhike, especially in country towns. But anyway, the area where the girls were walking was pretty remote, so no one witnessed them getting into this car. The girls asked to be dropped off at their friend's house on Hereford Street, to which the driver agreed to. But when they got to Hereford Street, the man started to slow down in a dark and quiet area and turned off the car's headlights. The man then turned to Jessica, who was sitting in the back of the car, and said, "Right, come here." Causing Vanessa to say, "I don't think so." The driver then started to choke Vanessa by placing his hands around her throat, but let go when he saw Jessica was trying to escape. He lunged at her. The girls struggled frantically, trying to get out of the car. At approximately 12:40, Vanessa managed to break out of the car and ran screaming for help. She ran to the closest house and woke the residents by banging on the windows and alerting police. However, once Vanessa had escaped, the man had taken off with Jessica still in the car, screaming for help. When Vanessa had heard the screams when she was running, she thought that Jessica was behind her, but she was so scared that she hadn't actually turned around and looked to see. The white-coloured either sedan or Holden Commodore was last seen by witnesses that night near Dew Manor Road and Willett Close in Eglinton, which is about a 9-minute drive from Hereford Street. It was said to be heading in the direction of Hill End, a town about an hour north of where Jessica was abducted. Now, as you will soon discover, the police investigation into this case was a mess. Jessica and their circle of friends were known by police as delinquents after a few run-ins with them. So they didn't believe her, even though she was so terrified and crying incoherently, and took at least 5 minutes to calm down to be enough to tell her story. This is from an investigator who was present at the scene. But Vanessa's story never changed throughout the investigation. The police asked multiple times the same question in different ways to try and trip liars up. Instead of investigating Vanessa's claims, though, the police came up with their own theory. They thought that Vanessa was covering for Jessica running away from her mother, who she had been having a few issues with. But they had nothing at all to back up this theory. On the night of Jessica's abduction and in the days that followed, police received a number of reports, including people witnessing suspicious activity at Amuse Me involving a white Commodore and one person who says they witnessed the abduction right by their home. But as police were so set on their runaway theory, they did not investigate many leads for a whole decade. A man called Colin Cull called police shortly after Jessica's abduction to report a dirty white car which he believed to be a Commodore flying down the road full speed with no headlights on. Colin said he was on Sydney Road when the car came out from a side street to his left, causing him to have to brake so hard and fast that his car stalled. He also said he witnessed another vehicle have to veer onto the wrong side of the road to avoid this crazy driver. Unfortunately, the caller could not get a good look at the driver, the registration, nor see if there were any other people in this white car. It would take until 2011 for an official statement to be taken by police, so vital details could have long been forgotten by then and left out of the statement. Diane Edmonds called police the morning that Jessica disappeared to report a car going down a never-used bush track near her house that led to a creek, and although she couldn't make out the model in the darkness, she had never seen a car drive down that track, and like Colin Cull, Diane did not get an official statement taken by police until 2012. An 11-year-old girl, I believe her name was Kayla Bryan, told her mother something that may have been connected to Jessica's disappearance. Kayla had been approached by a man in Bathurst the same night that Jessica went missing. There's no details of what he did or said, but Kayla told her mother a few days later, and realising it could be connected to Jessica's disappearance, she reported it to police. Robert Fitzpatrick says he witnessed the abduction of Jessica about 30 to 40 metres from his house. At about 1 a.m, Robert saw what he believed to be a white Holden Commodore or possibly a black Chimera parked just metres from his house in Eglinton, and witnessed a struggle inside the vehicle and heard a woman's panicked scream and shout for help. The driver then got out of the car, went to the boot to retrieve something. Robert then heard a little bang and saw the driver kneel over the front seat and reach towards the back seat before getting back into the car and driving away. Robert tried to take a mental note of the license plate but didn't write it down as he couldn't find a pen. However, he did think that the plate was from either Queensland or Canberra. And although Robert did not see the driver's face, he described him as a not very big man, aged between about 30 and 40. After Robert heard about Jessica's disappearance, he went to the police station to report what he had seen. Police took his contact details, saying that they would be in touch, but Robert did not hear back from them. So he went back to the police station after their silence to speak to a detective, but again he was basically brushed aside. A detailed statement would not be taken from Robert until 2007, and this was after a strike force was formed to reinvestigate Jessica's disappearance, called Strike Force Carry Call. In the years after Jessica's disappearance, some evidence was found in the Jenolan State Forest that was possibly linked to her case. Some forestry workers found some woman's underwear and a blanket. However, 12 months later, this evidence was destroyed by police before any major testing was ever done on these items. Jessica's family were not even notified about these items until after they were destroyed. So when they destroyed them, they destroyed any chance of a possible ID via Jessica's family. William Roth, an employee at Amuse Me who was working the night that Jessica disappeared, came forward and told police a mystery man had been lurking around the arcade the night in question. This man had taken a pretty keen interest in Jessica. He told William he worked for the Iberian timber mill before pointing to Jessica and asking, "Who's that? She looks like she's out for a good time." William told him, "That's Jess." William said the man looked about mid-30s, was around 5'8" tall, Caucasian with dark hair and a beer belly. He had been wearing jeans and running shoes with a long-sleeved button-up cowboy-type shirt or a flannelette shirt. But this lead was also never followed up on. William did not give an official statement until 2008. The police also never bothered to question anyone who was present at Amuse Me that night. Police actually had to publicly appeal to William Ross to come forward to obtain his statement, so it appeared they had never even taken any of his personal details for future reference or any questions. From William's witness account, police zeroed in on two men. The first of these men was Andrew McBride. McBride not only matched the description William had given to the police, he had worked at the Iberian timber mills, but records show McBride, who was visiting Bathurst on Sunday the 26th of October, left the area in the early hours of the morning that Jessica went missing. McBride was staying in accommodation in Bathurst and drove to Sydney, where I believe he lived at the time. He left in such a rush he even forgot to return his accommodation key. McBride denied being in the Bathurst area at the time. He initially told investigators he had never even been to Bathurst, telling them for the life of him he could not remember being there, but his bank records, which were presented to him, showed otherwise. This seemed to jolt his memory, and McBride suddenly remembered he may have been to Bathurst 2 or 3 times to face the Bathurst court, relating to charges of assault and passing fake checks. But McBride still maintains his innocence in Jessica's disappearance and has not been charged with anything relating to Jessica's case. The second person of interest is Craig Robinson. A witness had told police around the time that Jessica disappeared, their former workmate, Craig Robinson, disposed of his white Holden Commodore. He had also worked at the Iberian timber mill. He was potentially in the Bathurst area at the time that Jessica disappeared. He fit the general description of the man watching Jessica at Amuse Me. And he also quite possibly left the Bathurst area soon after Jessica disappeared. He had a violent history with women and no alibi for the night in question. But Robinson, along with McBride, are just persons of interest. They are not official suspects and as such have not been charged. Both men maintain their innocence. In 2014, a coronial inquest was held for Jessica's case. The findings of this inquest were, while there was no direct evidence to link either McBride or Robinson, there is also no solid evidence to eliminate them as persons of interest. The car the girls had been picked up in, Vanessa had described as unremarkable aside from one detail, a hole in the passenger side footwell. She said the hole was quite significant. She could see the road whiz by underneath them as they drove. However, this vehicle has never been identified. Police believe the car was likely stolen and or unregistered. Of about 100 cars, 5 were forensically examined, but nothing came of this. Also worth mentioning, the area of Bathurst where the car had been spotted were mostly unsealed roads at the time, so it is likely whoever took Jessica was local and knew these roads. There have been a small number of apparent sightings of Jessica reported to New South Wales Police over the years, which were followed up on by police, but none have ever been confirmed. Jessica also had no money or belongings on her the night in question. It wasn't until the formation of the Carica 2 that someone was put in charge of the investigation, Detective Sergeant Peter Smith. This is when the weird runaway theory was thrown out and investigations finally started. In 2011, Carica 2 took information that AmuseMe employee William Ross provided and tracked down every man between the age of 18 and 30 who had been working at the timber mill near Bathurst in 1997, but nothing came as a result of this information. In 2012, a dig was finally undertaken at a place where a witness had reported seeing a white Holden Commodore on the night of Jessica's abduction, fishing in on one spot for a lengthy amount of time. At the time, it wasn't thought to be connected to Jessica's disappearance, but when Carica 2 took over, they dug a lot deeper. An area near Fish River off O'Connell Road, about halfway between Bathurst and Alberian, was evacuated, but after 2 days, nothing was found. The coronial inquest in 2014 found that Jessica had been a victim of foul play. The coroner commented in the days and weeks following Jessica's abduction that their assumptions and prejudice compromised the investigation, causing immeasurable additional distress and hurt to the family of Jessica, and it may have also put other future lives at risk. It was also acknowledged by the Council for New South Wales Police during the inquest that they had bungled the investigation, likely due to the views of investigators at the time. At the inquest, it was alleged by the mother of a 15-year-old girl that Andrew McBride had an interest in her teenage daughter. McBride was 37 at the time. She said he was quite touchy-feely with her daughter. The coroner recommended that no less than a $500,000 reward be offered for information leading to solving Jessica's disappearance. In 2015, the New South Wales government announced a $100,000 reward, but in 2018, this was increased to $1 million. In 2020, a 43-year-old man from New South Wales was arrested and charged with 2 counts of sexual intercourse without consent. The victim was raped twice in the Bathurst area in 1994 and 1996 when she was aged 17 and 19 years old. Now, this man has not been arrested or charged in anything relating to Jessica's disappearance, but I believe they are probably looking into that. The case is still ongoing, and as of today, Jessica has not been found, nor have they found a body, nor has anybody been charged in relation to her disappearance. So that is the true crime case of Jessica Small. Thank you guys so much for listening today. I will try and get another one done really soon. Have a great day. Bye.